Let me bring you this conversation that's been trending on social media from last night. Well, it's a story about what's happening around the gold dealership company Menzgold London office, which was done by JoyNews' editor Israel Lai. He's come under some sort of slack, receiving some slack from people on social media, including insult from Chief Executive Officer of Menzgold, Nana Pia Mensah, for what he described as a smear campaign against his business. Israel Lai will be joining me in the studio shortly. But first, let's take a look at the story that he filed, which has generated this controversy.
Berkeley Square House, as the name indicates, is adjacent Berkeley Square, a famous landmark in the heart of London and not too far from the city's famous shopping district, Oxford Street. Now, take a look at the surroundings here. In July 2018, that was earlier this year, we had the Chief Executive of Menzgold, Nana Pia Mensah, take a shot at this very spot with his staff behind him. And it was the opening of the Menzgold offices here in London. It's here at Berkeley Square. Now, the fact that this office was open here, for many, suggested that they are into some really good business and that they're doing something really legit, which is welcome here in London. So I'm going to go into the offices to try and find out whether I can get to probably buy some gold here in their offices. So come along as I take a trip in there. And take note of Berkeley Square House. Access to offices in the building is highly restricted as one needs to go through security entrance lanes. Faced with that challenge of not making it past the lobby, I posed as a businessman seeking to take up office space. I want to make some inquiries about taking office space here.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Are you looking for the office space within Regis company? Or just any?
Just any.
Yeah,
just
of course.
In the company of a Ghanaian resident in the UK who was at the opening of the Menzgold London office, I was shown round the office suites with rent starting from £3,000 a month. We eventually ended up at the mini lobby area on the first floor where the office of Menzgold is located. Right there on the wall were nameplates for some of the companies which are taking up offices on the floor. There was, however, no Menzgold, even though the office steward taking us round explained it was optional and attracted a fee. As we stood making further enquiries, two ladies emerged from the Menzgold office and looked Ghanaian. And that was about the only clue we picked up about the company's presence at Berkeley House. So I've been there, I've been to get to see the offices. There's not much to see actually, because it turns out that it's a small office space, and you can I just saw two ladies coming out of the office where the commissioning of the Menzgold offices took place last July. So there's not really that much to see. There's not even that much signage indicating that this is where the office is. So it's quite in sharp contrast to what we have in Accra, where Menzgold is visibly displayed or is very visible wherever they have their office locations. So I actually tried to reach to Accra to see if I could get anyone here in the office to get to speak with me about the operations here in London, but I wasn't that successful at it. But what I can report is, yes, this is where the offices were inaugurated last July, and it was supposed to be, or it is supposed to be, the offices of Menzgold and Xylophone Media here in London. I've been in there, but it's not the typical kind of office or the typical kind of engagement where you have in Accra, where you see a lot of people trooping into the offices to try and buy gold or trade in gold with them. So that's about it. Hopefully we can get some more information from other sources to help you better appreciate what Menzgold does here in London.
So that is Israel Lai's report from London. The man himself joins me in the studio. Israel, this is a, like I was saying earlier in the intro, it's a rare what was the expression I used? I've forgotten.
Okay.
It's a rare encounter, let me say, to have you here in the studio. But first of all, Izzy, tell us, what were you doing in London?
I was actually in Oxford. I was at Oxford University, the Blavatnik School of Government, where I had been selected to join some participants from around the world, for a course, an executive course on oil, gas and mining governance, how to make optimum use of the revenue that comes from oil, gas and mining. So I had finished the course, and I was due to return to Ghana on Wednesday. I was supposed to leave the UK on Wednesday, but finishing the course over the weekend, I had some time, so I decided, okay, I mean, typically
look around.
Typically, what we do. So I came to London, and typically, like we do each time we travel, and in fact, anywhere you find yourself, if you see a story that you think that it's interesting, something, I mean, as a journalist, you'd want to follow up on it.
Your first inclination is to work it out.
Right. So whilst I knew I had a few days in London, so I started making arrangements to see if I could get a crew in London to, so I could do some stories. And two of the things that I really wanted to do was to follow up on the issue of Menzgold offices, because we knew that they had opened an office in London, and people kept on saying that if they've opened an office in London,
why are we trying to
shut
them here?
Why are the authorities here trying to shut them down if they're allowed to operate freely in London and Spain? So I sought to find out what exactly they do in their London office. So that was just one of them. The other one had to do with Cukor Bulley, who I knew whilst there, following the news that he was going to be deported. And Cukor Bulley is somebody I've been trying to get to speak with for a really long time. I mean, since his issue came up, I have made contacts. I've been speaking with a dad. I've been speaking with a sister, trying to get to me. They kept on assuring me that at the right opportunity, we could get to do that. So once I got to eventually, when the people came through to me and said, okay, so Cukor Bulley is available to get to speak with you. And that was on Tuesday. And I knew that on Wednesday I was leaving.
You were leaving.
So I planned it such that in the morning of Wednesday, I would try and visit the offices of Menzgold, and then when I get to the airport, because the detention center where Cukor Bulley is being kept is close to the Heathrow airport. So I'd get to do those checks.
That's a very strategic positioning of the guy, because they're about to deport him anyway. So take him close to Heathrow.
So I went to the UK offices of Menzgold in the morning, and so essentially, really, I didn't have that much time to put together to look around a lot more than you did. Comprehensive report. So, I mean, we can talk about going into the offices and what I saw and all that. Yeah.
So when you went into the office, and first of all, let's finish with the Adoboli thing. Did you get to speak with Adoboli?
So I got to speak with Adoboli. I thought that I could at least have had like a camera, my phone. I could use my phone to record an interview with him.
But it wasn't
even
allowed?
If it wasn't a video interview, it could have been like an audio recording. But it turned out that I couldn't have sent anything into the detention center. They took my phone, anything on me, even my wallet was taken off.
But how is that? Because I mean, I do Netflix a lot, and I've seen Netflix do a lot of videos from detention, not just detention centers, like very dangerous prisons. So why was that?
Well, they will check everything on you. I don't know whatever rules applied in the ones you saw on Netflix, but in this particular case, they said, no, you can't send anything in. Probably if I had come to some arrangement with them, and prior to, I probably may have been given an opportunity to go in there, probably with a full camera and everything else to do that. But that wasn't the case. So, well, I still wanted to have the opportunity to interact with him. And one of the key things that I had in mind was the fact that it had been reported in Ghana, that he said that being deported to Ghana was worse than being kept in jail in the UK. So for many people, we were like, really? I mean, this is where you come from. So if we're bringing you, they're returning you to Ghana, what's your problem?
Right.
But then the guy told me that that wasn't what he said.
He said, okay.
And we had a long conversation. But
what was his demeanor? Like, was he sad? Was he happy?
He looked crestfallen. Certainly he wasn't happy to be in there. And we are seeing images of him, since the issue came up. And you see this guy, he hasn't really changed that much. He's not a happy guy, clearly. You can tell. But yeah, I think he's keeping up.
He's keeping up. Okay, now let's talk about Menzgold.
So the Menzgold story.
The Menzgold story.
So I got to the offices on Wednesday morning, and so here was I quickly went in there before my crew came in. I quickly went in there, and I looked. From what I saw at the lobby, it was clear that I couldn't just go through offices. Yeah. I mean, typically you could just sneak into an office and go there and try and start having a conversation with them, but it wasn't going to work. So then what I did was, at that point, what I was interested in getting to know was if indeed they had an office there at Berkeley Square House. So yes, I posed as somebody who was I had been in there with this guy who was actually there at the time they were doing the commissioning. So after we had been given a pass, because we were supposed to go and see somebody who was in charge of the whole building, who could take us around. So
that if you wanted an office, they could facilitate.
So on our way, and that was where I posed that somebody was interested in taking up an office. So they gave us the passes, and we're supposed to go to the floor where we're going to meet this guy. Before we got there, my guy pointed out to me that this is where the commissioning was done. In July, and so
because he was there.
He was there, so he established that. So then eventually went to the top. We're taking round, shown several offices. I was just asking, making inquiries. Fortunately, they took us close to where the Menzgold office is. And at that point, I saw the nameplates.
Menzgold.
There was no Menzgold. There was on that floor, there were nameplates on the wall, which indicated the companies that were there. Now, this guy we were working with knew us to be business people who were interested. So
that's the plates we're talking about.
Yeah, that was these are the plates. So this guy we're working with knew us as business people seeking to make inquiries about taking up an office. So I couldn't at that point have given myself away by suggesting that maybe I was interested in something else. So we went along. They took us around. In fact, we were taking away from where the office is. And then eventually I said, I was asking about the nameplates, and he talked about further, it's optional, and that if you don't want to pay for it, you're not going to get it.
Have your name
so there. My way of sending him back to the place to see if Menzgold was in there, as listed in there, was to tell him I wanted to see what the nameplates looked like. So he sent me there, and I asked him if I could take a photo, because at that point I couldn't be looking through to find out if Menzgold. So I just took a photo, which I had with me. Now this, I was at that point that I saw the two ladies emerge from the Menzgold office. Typically, yes, I felt like...
You're curious.
Yeah, I felt like...
You know the story.
Is this the opportunity? Should I engage them and ask them,
do you work at Menzgold? Or do you have...
But then at that point, I was going to give myself away that, look, you came here saying you were looking to inquire about taking up office space. So why all these questions? So I just had to let them go. But when I got out of we eventually got out of the building, then I called George Quay. and wanted
to
who was a PRO for
Menzgold.
Menzgold, and I wanted to find out from him if he could hook me up with any of the staff at the London office. I told him I was there, and he said he didn't know the people there because he had just assumed office, and he really didn't know the people there. But so he said he was going to try to see if he could hook me up. But he also indicated that he was supposed to have gone to the UK to get to familiarize himself with the operations.
That hasn't been done.
That hasn't been done. So I waited for a while. He didn't get back. Then I got back to him. I said, okay, now, can you tell me about the operations of Menzgold in
London?
In London. And he indicated that, again, he didn't know much about it.
Okay.
So at that point, well, I just had to do what I had obtained at the time. And, well, I didn't have that much time, really. So
to go into it. It appears that the Menzgold guys are not very happy about it. We've seen what they've been... course of things
I've seen a number of things people have posted on social media. One of the things, well, about his what he had to say about me. It's okay. I can imagine the way he's feeling, and so he'll go on to say stuff like that. But that's okay. Now, I didn't seek the report that I put out, and everybody else can get to see. I didn't seek at any point in time to say that Menzgold didn't have an office there. All I could conclude from my report was that what we know them to do in Ghana, for which reason they've gotten into some trouble with the Securities and Exchange Commission, is not what they're doing there. And it's because I'm saying that you can't just freely walk into their office and say you want to trade in gold.
Okay, like you do here in Ghana.
Happens here. You can just walk into the offices and nobody's going to stop you. And then, you know, buy whatever you want to buy and then go away. So I didn't seek to run him down at all. I didn't seek to do any such thing.
Right.
And again, maybe something I should just add. So I was in the UK, as I indicated, for an executive course on oil, gas, mining. That course was paid for. My trip to the UK was actually paid for by the Natural Resource Governance Institute. So this is something that, I mean, it was just on the side. Multimedia didn't sanction this. I probably should add that. Multimedia didn't sanction it, but of course, like I said, as a journalist, wherever you find yourself, if there's a story of interest, you'd want to pursue.
That's true. That's true. Well, Israel, welcome back, and thanks so much for the chocolates you brought.
You're welcome.
I ate one yesterday. I have 2 more to finish. Israel, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Israel Lai there. He's been to the UK on the course, and you've seen the Menzgold, you know, all of the fallout from the Menzgold story. Well, we've reached out to Menzgold actually to get them to speak on this story, but we don't have. They've declined to comment at this point, so we'll move on from there. But we've got some photos to show you. We'll get that for you later. But